YouTube, what is up? I just got done watching the Can-Am Maverick R release video, and I thought we'd talk about some of the stuff on it and just kind of go over like our first impressions of what they've done with the new X3, I guess. Um, Honestly, I'm pretty impressed overall. It's funny to me how hung up everybody's getting on the suspension. Um, I think that it should have came out with some 35-inch tires, and that would have blown people away. Something so simple. My only guess is why it didn't is probably because they have a special model coming out with a 35-inch tire set, so they're just kind of saving that for later. Um, I don't see any real downside to the suspension in the desert and the dunes. And I think like the mud guys and hardcore off-road guys, I'm guessing they have something else coming for you guys. So it's definitely polarizing. It's definitely new and kind of crazy, but if it works, it looks strong, and I don't know, it's a little funky looking, but if it performs, I can get over the way it looks personally. If they got the performance out of it and it did what it was intended to do, I think it's pretty cool. Um, so this thing comes in at 2250, 2,250 pounds. That's 550 pounds heavier than an old X3 XRS 72-inch wide machine, which is pretty crazy. And I've got to think that most of that stuff is been put into the Maverick R to strengthen everything up. I'm sure the transmission is some of that. I'm sure that's not a light unit. But I'm actually kind of excited about that weight. These things are going from toys to like serious off-road machines with some serious durability. And for somebody like me that goes and does 1,000 miles of pre-running down in Mexico, I love to see that they've beefed up some stuff and made them a little stronger. The old X3s were super light and fast, but you really had to beef up the chassis. The chassis was really thin wall metal, and I really hope that that's fixed on this one, and it looks like it is. But you know, we took 4 machines down to Baja last year, and one was an X3, and honestly, it's the one that started showing the wear after the 1,000 miles. And it's not that it's not good, but you just have to you have to do quite a bit to beef them up to make them last. So yeah, it's cool. So I'm hoping that the extra 550 pounds has gone to serious durability. It is, I gotta say too, the people on the social media on Instagram are just ripping the suspension apart. I think you guys need to get behind the wheel, and I think you'll change your tune a little bit. I really think it's going to be a good machine, and I respect engineering. Don't get so caught up in the looks. Get behind the wheel, and I think you're probably going to be impressed. Good to see. Let's see. Let's talk about the motor. Pretty crazy, man. I can't believe they stayed with a 999. So under a liter and making 240 horsepower out of this motor. Closed deck design. That's automotive stuff. That's car stuff for race cars. That's awesome. So can hold a lot of boost. It's got those crazy cylinder coatings. It's awesome. I mean, it's crazy they can get that much power. I mean, that's unbelievable. And if you know Can-Am, you know that there's some left over. I would say these guys have, I bet it's good for 300 horsepower with a tune and an exhaust. I mean, it's crazy. So really impressed with the motor. Really, really cool. Let's talk about it. And the turbo, actually. They put such a big turbo on it that they mounted it to the motor, which I think is a really cool design. I have an old tuner car, and I always crack manifolds because the big turbo's hanging on the manifold. And it just, you hit it, you're at the track, and it just getting all this weight, and it cracks that exhaust manifold. So pretty cool that they just bolted it to the actual, to the block. It's pretty sick. So, because I bet it is a huge turbo. They're running some serious boost out of this thing. The transmission. It's like you guys forgot the transmission. You so pissed about the suspension that you forgot that these guys put in a 7-speed DCT transmission that you can shift manually or run in automatic mode and put it in and out of four-wheel drive on the fly, high, low, whatever you want. That's incredible. Like, honestly, mind-blowing. The fun feeling in this car is going to be so cool. The engagement and driving this new Maverick R is going to be so fun with that transmission. Even though, with that said, I've been so happy with the Pro R and their CVT. Like, it hasn't bugged me as much. I think CVTs suck when they don't work. When they work, I have had no problem with the CVT, but the DCT just sounds fun. The dual clutch transmission just sounds really, really fun. I wish they would have talked a little more about the front differential. And like the sway bar design, because that is totally new and crazy too. So interesting to see. Like, I'm sure they've beefed it up, but like they literally said nothing about the front diff. So I'd like to know more about that. Let's see. All new cockpit, which is pretty cool. So you got a telescoping wheel. You got up and down and back and forth, which I like. You've got all the they've kind of tried to catch up to Polaris. Finally, they've caught up to Polaris. So they've got the big 10.5-inch screen. It looks like it has GPS and media controls and gauges and all these things and cameras. It looks like high quality cameras too, which is cool. Hopefully, it looks like they've kind of copied Polaris a little bit with their group ride stuff. The one thing I'll say is Polaris's group ride, down in Mexico, you don't have cell service. And they have their antenna, and it's really cool that we start a group and you're not connected by your phone, and it just keeps track of your party. It's one of my favorite things when we're riding together. It's really cool tech. So it would be cool if you didn't have to use your phone for the group ride. But hey, I'm stoked that they've got the screen in there. They've got all these cool technology things. They have stuff to build on. It's really cool. Interesting, a six lug wheel design. It does seem like this car, literally, they're like, what did Polaris do? Yep, 1 more inch, 1 more lug nut. I'm not stoked. 2 things on the car that I'm not super stoked on. One is the rim size. I don't understand the 16-inch wheel. If you needed it to clear the brakes, I get it, but you don't, because the brakes are the same size on the lower models that come with a 15-inch wheel. So don't really get that. I think I would have rather had a 15-inch beadlock, and I wish it came with a 35-inch tire. I think that if you would have just bring the machine out with 35-inch tire, I think people would have been really stoked, and they wouldn't have been quite as critical on the suspension looks. The dimensions of this thing is crazy. This thing is 108 inches long, so it's 4 more inches than a Polaris. It's 78 inches wide. They said 77, but I think it's close to 78 inches wide. So it is another 4 inches wider. So we're wider, we're longer, more horsepower. It's got 1 inch more of ground clearance. It's got 1.5 inches. Let's see. Yeah, 1.5 inches in the rear of travel, and like 3 inches in the front of travel, usable travel. So, I mean, they literally just pulled the old one-up card and one-up pretty much everything on Polaris. It's crazy. It's nuts. So, yeah, I don't get the 16-inch wheel. That's something that I don't get. The 6 lug, I don't mind it. My friend was a little annoyed because he just feels like now everybody's finding new wheels. Everybody's got to do new tooling, do all these things for the aftermarket to go to that 6 lug. But I get it. It's probably an automotive application. They found a really tough hub and wheel bearing. I don't know if this is a unitized hub like the Polaris. I'm guessing that it is. It looks like they took something from an automotive truck, like a truck. And if that's the case, that's pretty awesome, to be frank, because it's just going to be bulletproof. It's made for a 6,000-pound truck, and it's run on a 2,200-pound UTV. So no more wheel bearing problems. I've changed so many wheel bearings on the Turbo S and the X3, and I gotta say, I'm loving that they've. I mean, and all this adds weight. All this durability, it adds weight. So I kind of get the weight. Um, a 1700-watt magneto, so no alternator, but it has a magneto that is putting out a ton of power, and so I don't think you'll have any power issues with the 1700-watt magneto, which is really cool. Um, the smart accessories is kind of neat. Uh, you know, I don't think they're too expensive. You buy a controller and it basically hooks into the vehicle's like speed and steering angle sensors, basically like all the sensors that the shocks use. And then it adds some features with those lights. So kind of cool deal. Cooling, crazy that it has uh, two radiators in the intercooler. So pretty cool cooling design. I'm really excited to see kind of more of that. But it looks like they've really thought about this car, um, and it's just sick. Let's see what else. Cost 44 grand before you add anything. So I wish I could say that I'm surprised, but I'm not. You guys, everybody wants this new crazy cool stuff, and it costs money. The good thing is, it looks like you have all the old ones still available, and there should be something for everybody. If you don't want to spend 44 grand on a new side by side, there's going to be something for 25 grand or whatever you want, I think. So it is what it is. It costs money. They made a crazy machine and they want to get paid. So it's expensive for sure. It's a very expensive side by side. But it's amazing. I keep hearing this. Oh, I could get a Jeep for that. A Jeep cannot do what an X3, what a Maverick R can do. I'm sorry, guys. It can't. It can't do 110, ripping through the desert over whoops and jumping and sliding and it just can't do it. So, I'm sick of the Jeep and the Bronco comparison. Yes, you can get one of those, but it will not be the same as these side by sides. The suspension technology is unbelievable on these. Um, yeah, so it's a very good Pro R comparison. I think it's going to be fast. It looks a lot tougher, which is what I want to see. When I bought the Pro R, I knew that the motor was going to be good. I knew it wasn't going to be necessarily faster than an X3, to be honest, because of the weight and because it was NA. But I didn't care because I wanted it to be strong, and it has done that. And I think that's like this too. It's going to be super fast, but more, it's going to be super robust. And it just looks trick. And I do think, you guys, with the suspension, I do think you're going to see something for the crazy rock crawlers and mud guys. They're going to have something for you, I think. And so don't get too discouraged. This is definitely the race car. This is the Dooner and the Desert Machine. And I think there's going to be other variants for, like an XRC model and something for the mud. And you're going to be able to do your big tires and do whatever you want to do. That's my prediction. So don't get too caught up on it. If that's your style of riding, there's going to be something for you. This is the first thing to come out, and it's definitely like a West Coast machine. It's a wide, long, big suspension, ultra fast, race buggy. So I think there'll be something for you guys too. Yeah, the comments on Instagram, man, they were pretty bad, dude. So, I like it. I like it. The front end is different looking. I don't know how you do an arm design like that and make it. I don't know. It's just it's crazy looking. It's crazy looking. But if it works, I'm in. I think it looks rad, and I think, dude, having that tranny with that turbo motor, this thing in the desert and the dunes is just going to be so fast. Yeah, it just looks cool. I mean, I like it. I'm a fan. It's not perfect. There's a few things I would change. I wish it came with a 35, but it looks like it was engineered for a 35. So overall, I'm super happy with this machine. It's just cool, and I wonder how you're not going to have any more of that clutch noise. The X3s always were super raspy and they had a lot of clutch noise. So, it has a 13 point oh shoot, I think it was like a 13.5 gallon tank. So that's something I will say. On the Pro R, it only has like a, I guess it does have almost a 13 gallon tank, but it gets 6 miles the gallon. So if this engine being a 1 liter turbo, my Canon was pretty efficient. I got usually at least 10 miles a gallon on my old X3. So if this thing's getting 10 miles a gallon, which I don't know if it is, but if it is, and you can get more like 130-mile range. I mean, honestly, on the Pro R, we're like 70 miles. And then that's, if you're ripping, it's 70 miles on the race course. That's what we couldn't really plan for much more than that. It was pushing it. So I do like that they put a larger tank, and hopefully it's an efficient motor. Crazy with the 2 fuel injector design. It's just, man, they've done so much on this. I feel like people have overlooked all this other stuff they did and got caught up on that suspension. But a lot of crazy accessories. They have like a ram air hood design, roof design, which I thought was pretty cool. Man, it just looks like a beast. And I love how beefy the front arms are. And I love like your like over rock clearance is crazy. They're just, man, it just seems like a really cool design. You've got your axle in the A-arm instead of in the shock fork, which is crazy. So they've all done their own, design. It's all lower. Shock's connected to the lower arm. So, man, it's cool. I think it's cool. And I really love the engineering and people thinking out of the box. Sometimes it's hard to imagine it because it looks weird, but dude, it's just crazy cool. Like the way the arm goes up around the shock in the front, it's neat. It's a neat car, man. I don't know. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited to see these things out on the trail, and be cool to take one down pre-running this year would be awesome. But yeah, 4-link rear suspension. Dude, it looks cool. It looks fast. And the tuners are going to get, like I said, they're going to get 300 horsepower of this thing in a heartbeat. And then all the suspension travel and all the technology in it, it is going to be amazing in the desert and in the dunes. The dune guys are going to just love this thing. I mean, it's going to be incredible. So, and I think, the 4x4 guys, the hardcore crawling guys, they're going to have something for you. I'm positive they're going to have something for you. So anyways, I'm pretty stoked. I think there might be one in my future. I got to try it out. It just looks like such a cool beast. And somebody put a lot of time and money into this thing, and I'm excited to get behind the wheel of it. So it's my 2 cents. I get the suspension is crazy looking, kind of goofy looking, but man, think of the engineering. And don't judge it until you drive it. I mean, I bet it's gonna be incredible. It's gonna be incredible. So, anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Check out our Vegas to Reno videos. I'll be putting up a bunch of them. We had a great race. It was super fun in a 4-seat Pro R. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. All right.